Welcome to this tactical analysis of the Chelsea versus Borussia Dortmund game in the Champions League. We're going to have a look at Chelsea's 3-4-3 press, 3-2-4-1 build-up, and the use of Sterling. And for Borussia Dortmund, we're going to look at their deep build-up and their midfield build-up and how they sought to exploit Chelsea's proactive defence. Before we get into it, if you enjoy the content, please give it a like, maybe share it on social media. And with that, let's get into it. Starting in the 20th minute with Chelsea building up with their 3-2 shape versus a 4-1-4-1 or 4-2-3-1 pressing shape from Borussia Dortmund. I have to say that Reina came on for Brandt, who would have been really important during their midfield possession, given Borussia Dortmund had three number 8s in Royce, Bellingham and Reina, or Brandt if he'd been able to stay on, floating between the lines. Against this 4-1-4-1, Chelsea were easily able to maintain possession in this 3-2, and then they had João Felix and Kai Havertz move inside, allowing the fullbacks to push up in those wider spaces, and João Felix and Kai Havertz could stay in between the lines for driven passes from the defence or these deeper lying midfielders, which is exactly what we see during this build-up, eventually leading to Raheem Sterling having the opportunity to play it out into Reece James for Reece James to fire one of his trademark whipped crosses for the forwards, but Sterling's pass is poor. This does give Chelsea the opportunity to counter-press, which allows Kai Havertz to successfully regain possession in Borussia Dortmund's defensive third prior to the rest of the Borussia Dortmund defense being able to reset. Fortunately for Borussia Dortmund, they're able to escape, and they try to escape through Bellingham down this left-hand side. I have to point out how important he was for Borussia Dortmund at all stages, whether that was in defence, in midfield or in attack. He wasn't shy in dropping deeper and helping Chan and the two centre-backs in Schlotterbeck and Schüller build up from deep. More often you found him floating in between the lines, just as Royce was looking to try and make it difficult for Chelsea's wing-backs or their centre-backs to be able to pick him up, allowing the centre-backs or Chan to be able to fire a ball into him. Fortunately for Chelsea on this occasion, Enzo is able to stop him and force Borussia Dortmund to retreat to the goalkeeper. And so we get to see Chelsea's 3-4-1-2 or 3-4-3 press, where Havertz is looking to put pressure on Chan, whilst the other two forwards are looking to press towards the centre-back. Whilst Chan is positioned a little bit higher here in this 2-3 shape by Borussia Dortmund, he sometimes will also play as a central centre-back, or potentially Reina can drop in here with two other Borussia Dortmund centre midfielders such as Bellingham, Royce, Reina or Ozcan playing as the two centre midfielders ahead of them to get beyond the Chelsea press. Okay, so we can see that 4 with Chilwell, the left-sided wing-back, tracking the forward here, Reina dropping. You get similar aggression from the rest of the Chelsea defence when other forwards such as Royce or Aller sought to drop as well. Borussia Dortmund moved quite cleverly, looking to try and draw out the centre midfield pair of Chelsea, whilst forcing the Chelsea defence to retreat to create a bigger gap between the Chelsea defence and centre midfield. And so, as I mentioned here, we've got Reina now dropping into that space that Chan would like to pick up, and he's left free because Chilwell wants to retreat back into his position in that 3-4-3. Now we've got Ozcan dropping, as well as also Bellingham, and then this is creating a problem for the Chelsea midfield who want to push out and put pressure here in behind the forwards of Chelsea. Of course, that means that there's a lot of space here in behind the centre midfield pair that the Chelsea defence have to cover. And with Reina's numerical advantage that he brought deeper, Borussia Dortmund are able to fire the ball through the lines into Haller, dropping into that space that I mentioned that they were good at manufacturing between the centre midfield and defence of Chelsea. Eventually this leads to Borussia Dortmund getting the ball out into Wolf, who looks to combine centrally, again with the runners such as here Royce or Reina looking to get in behind and pin back the very aggressive Chelsea defence. Fortunately for Chelsea, they're able to regain possession and start a counter-attack. A combination of Felix, Koulibaly and Chilwell are able to escape beyond the counter-press and force Borussia Dortmund to retreat. Chan gives a free kick away in cleaning up this Chelsea counter-attack, but he was key defensively for Borussia Dortmund throughout the game in looking to stop these counterattacks, especially given his positioning as a central centre-back. Just as we saw a minute earlier into this scenario, we've got that back three here with Chan rather than Reina as a sweeper or central centre-back versus the 3-4-3 or 3-4-1-2 press of Chelsea, with the Borussia Dortmund other midfielders looking to work the space between the Chelsea forward line and centre midfield. Or alternatively, as in this case, we have Maya instead kick the ball long into Allaire with runners in behind him, as well as looking to support. Moving to the 24th minute, we've got Chelsea building up in their 3-2 shape again, with João Felix and Kai Havertz in those number 8 roles, just as in the previous example. Except here, Kovacic manages to get pickpocketed centrally, and Borussia Dortmund seek to pounce. Reina continuing his runs from centre midfield and looking to get into that space vacated by Cucurella, the left-sided centre-back who had tracked Allaire. That aggression, that proactivity from Cucurella created that space in behind, which Kovacic had to stay alert to try and cover. This was something that Borussia Dortmund were constantly looking to see how vigilant the centre midfielders, the forwards were at covering for their very aggressive defenders. In the 37th minute, there's been a long ball up into Allaire with players looking to support. This option was likely chosen given Chelsea had really pressed up with likes of Enzo Hernandez, higher up, Fofana, higher up. And so with Allaire winning that first aerial duel, which Koulibaly had to come forward to contest, that creates just a ton of space in behind, as Cucurella has also stayed on the front foot, which we see Bellingham look to immediately exploit as his fellow teammates look to make those runs in behind. Fortunately for Chelsea, Koulibaly slows the attack, and then eventually Reece James is able to get the ball into Kepa. Typically, Borussia Dortmund were playing a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-1-4-1 press, but here Kepa chose to throw the ball out early, and from there Chelsea looked to play through the press, utilising typically João Felix, who's very press resistant, with Raheem Sterling on the shoulder of the last man to keep Borussia Dortmund's remaining defenders honest. And so because Kepa threw the ball out early, Wolf was engaged earlier in the press, but then that left Süle being the one tracking or marking João Felix, who's able to roll him here and play a sumptuous ball over the top for Raheem Sterling, who unfortunately was offside. There were numerous occasions where Chelsea sought to play the ball early in behind, initially for Sterling, but then later on for Kai Havertz and Christian Pulisic. Lastly, we just want to look at pressure Borussia Dortmund were able to put on Chelsea later in the game, maintaining that same 3-2 shape. So here we have Schlotterbeck in that 3-2 shape, but against Chelsea's 5-3-2, because of the positioning of Borussia Dortmund's forwards and wing backs, the Chelsea defence were kept very deep and the midfield were forced to stay with them, which allowed the likes of Schlotterbeck or Chan or Süle to be able to push very high in these wide spaces. And then when a Chelsea defender or centre midfielder stepped out to engage, then the Borussia Dortmund players sprung into life, looking to exploit again that space in behind the proactive Chelsea defenders. Here, Reece James and Wesley Fofana. Unfortunately for Borussia Dortmund, Reece James is able to win the ball back and immediately hits a ball early into the channel for Kai Havertz to chase. But just as I mentioned earlier, Chan, as that central centre-back or sweeper, key to reading these and intercepting them as he does here. This allowing Borussia Dortmund to set up that 3-2-5 shape again, with the centre-backs being able to push really high and fire the ball into the likes of Reina or Royce, floating in between the lines, and the rest of the forwards looking to try and pin back that Chelsea defence. And with that, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the content, please give it a like, maybe share it on social media, subscribe, and with that, we're out.